8 o'clock.
Good morning. This is Northern Light for Friday, May 24th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
8 Akwesasne Mohawks were arrested this week on Barn Hart Island near Massena for protesting the Mohawk land claim settlement talks.
They wanted to let the people at New York Power Authority know that the community of Akwesasne was opposed to that settlement, and they wanted something more significant coming from that facility.
Meanwhile, the U.S. recognized St. Regis Mohawk tribe says the talks are nearing a positive resolution.
4 veterans and a Gold Star widow from Jefferson County are collaborating with country music singers to share their stories through original music at a concert in Clayton tonight.
You know, a lot of people think that when we write, we're writing about some trauma or about some combat experience. It's just about military life in general.
Plus, John Warren checks the trail conditions for us on this Memorial Day weekend.
And we'll preview the upcoming Great Adirondack Garage Sale running from Speculator to Saranac Lake.
All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by CCOM Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northern New York and northwestern Vermont, in person, online at ccom.org, and on your smartphone. And by the Depot Theater in Westport, inviting all to take a journey without leaving the station. Learn more at depottheater.org.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. 8 traditionalist Akwesasne Mohawks were arrested on Barn Hart Island near Massena Tuesday evening. They were protesting ongoing negotiations over the historic Mohawk land claim. As David Summerstein reports, the incident exposes long-standing disagreements within Akwesasne.
On Tuesday evening, several Mohawks put up signs on Barn Hart Island asserting Mohawk ownership of the land. The island is now owned by the New York Power Authority and home to the hydropower dam across the St. Lawrence River. State police said the Mohawks were trespassing and intentionally damaging property. The island is part of the historic Mohawk land claim, which is nearing a settlement. Doug Ganadio George is a member of the Mohawk Nation Longhouse, a former land claim negotiator, and a supporter of the Mohawks who were arrested.
They wanted to let the people at New York Power Authority know that the community of Akwesasne was opposed to that settlement, and they wanted something more significant coming from that facility.
The Mohawks won a huge victory in court in 2022 when a judge ruled New York State had taken thousands of acres of Mohawk land illegally in the early 1800s. And since then, New York has been negotiating with the U.S., Canadian, and traditional Mohawk councils to seek a final settlement. The U.S. recognized St. Regis Mohawk tribe said in a press release that Barn Hart Island was taken illegally in the 1800s, and it understands Mohawks' long-simmering anger. But the tribe said the trespassing protest was by a small group of individuals and was not productive or helpful. It said the land claim talks are nearing a positive resolution that could add 14,000 acres of land to Akwesasne. But Ganadio George says those talks have been too opaque for the consensus-based traditional Mohawk system of decision-making. And he says some Mohawks believe they're not getting enough compensation for Barn Hart Island. When the dam and seaway was built there in the 1950s, they brought invasive species and toxic chemicals that forever changed Akwesasne.
When they put the dam there and then south of there, the St. Lawrence Seaway, it caused massive ecological and social trauma to the people of Akwesasne. It disrupted our traditional way of life. It disrupted their fishing runs. It changed radically our diet.
It remains unclear when the details of the proposed Mohawk land claim settlement will be released to the public. The subject has become a major issue in upcoming elections for the St. Regis Mohawk tribe, which are set for June 1st. David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.
As the nation commemorates Memorial Day, more families are being reunited with remains of relatives who died in long-ago wars. Advances in anthropology and DNA technology have allowed the Army to identify about 200 sets of remains each year, dating back to World War II. But the passage of time has complicated the process of finding families to accept the remains. Jay Price reports for the American Homefront Project.
This month, Staff Sergeant Robert J. Ferris Jr. came home. He was a 20-year-old turret gunner in a B-17 bomber shot down in World War II. His remains were retrieved from a cemetery in France and identified last fall. That's when a phone call came to Barbara Weiss of New Bern, North Carolina.
I think it was a process of elimination because they started with my grandparents, went down the line, and everybody they thought of has passed.
She's sitting beside the casket just after the graveside service, holding in her lap the flag that had draped it. Weiss is Ferris's niece, born years after he died. When she got the call, the Army Mortuary Affairs Specialist first asked if her grandparents were still alive.
Then the next one would be an aunt, and then they were asking about my Uncle Al. He was gone. Then they asked, do you know Bertrus? I said, that's my mother. Can we talk to her? And I said, she's passed too. And then I said, I'm the only one. I'm the next of kin.
That's typical now that the remains the military is finding and identifying mostly date to World War II. There's no immediate family to be designated the official next of kin.
Probably about 60 to 70% we're dealing with now never knew the soldier.
William Shorty Cox is a senior mortuary affairs specialist for the Army, one of 4 who contacts families when a long-missing soldier is identified. In 14 years at the job, he's seen a shift away from Vietnam War cases as the number of recoverable remains from that war have dwindled to perhaps a few hundred. Meanwhile, tens of thousands are possible from earlier conflicts. And for those, most immediate family are already gone. Usually a distant family member is willing to stand in as next of kin. It helps that the military covers all the costs, but sometimes relatives are so far removed they don't want to bother.
I've got a case where I've gone through 16 family members, and I can't get a single one of them willing to take up the mantle to bury the soldier. They don't know them, they're busy, and I'm on my last family member now.
And if that one says no, the Army has to act as next of kin and decide things like the burial site. Such cases were once rare, but Cox's team has 3 others in process right now. George Washington University professor Sarah Wagner is the author of What Remains, Bringing America's Missing Home from the Vietnam War. She says even if no immediate family is alive, there's still merit in accounting for the missing. It shows current service members that the country values them, and it means something to those who attend the memorials, like one she went to at Arlington National Cemetery, where no one knew the deceased.
There wasn't a dry eye from what I could tell. I mean, people felt incredibly moved. But there is a sense of pageantry, right? Here is the 21 volley salute. Here's the folded up American flag handed over. You become part of something and you can trace a lineage to a moment of sacrifice.
At Ferris's burial, Weiss, the fallen soldier's niece, cheerfully stepped into her unexpected role and helped organize things like a funeral home display of faded photos.
I did not know him, but now I do know him. My grandmother was such a loving person, and so was my aunts and my other uncle. And so he has to be a part of that.
And so now, this is how we remember long missing troops when they return, as part of everyone's family somehow. I'm Jay Price reporting.
This story was produced by the American Homefront Project, a public media collaboration that reports on American military life and veterans.
4 young veterans and a Gold Star widow from Jefferson County are sharing their stories about military life through original music at a concert tonight at the Thousand Islands Harbor Hotel in Clayton. It's a program called Operation Song, and it's organized through the group North Country Troopers Assisting Troops. Yesterday, the veterans sat down one-on-one with 4 country music singers in town from Nashville, who then took the afternoon to write their stories into songs that'll be performed tonight.
Master Sergeant Brandon Fulmer is one of the participants. He's retired from the Air Force and now serves full-time in the New York National Guard. He lives in Chaumont and is based in Fort Drum and says his song is about how much service members are away from home.
I would have to say it's about, say, not worrying or worrying too much, being gone, being separated, like whether you're deployed, TDY, you're like somebody's wife or significant other may be able to relate to it, of like being home, worrying about everything, whether it's, what your family, kids, money, and also your significant other being deployed, and the hazards that he might be in or being exposed to. Like my current job that I have in the military, I do have to travel a lot for training or different exercises and stuff. And, it takes me away, it can take me away, like I said, anywhere from like 2 months to 2 weeks or to 2 days.
One of the organizers of the concert is retired First Sergeant Mike O'Brien, and he told me that it's a powerful event. They do it in the style of a Southern guitar pull.
The veterans will be up on the stage with that songwriter, and they'll tell the story behind that song, and then the songwriter will then perform the song. And it's such a cathartic and amazing experience. We're lucky to be able to highlight these veterans and honor them in their community, and just have the opportunity to tell their story. In the guitar pull, the form, the way that we do this, it's really the best way to hear the heart of each story. And, when these songs are played, you can just really hear a pin drop in the room as the performance will start. And I promise you, there will also be some tears shed as well.
It sounds so, like you said, like just so, such an intimate setting to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the crazy thing is that, these veterans and these songwriters, they never met each other before today. So there's a lot of trust that goes into sitting down with someone you've never met and kind of bearing your soul and telling your story. But, our songwriters are so amazing. They have this ability to put the veterans and the family members at ease and kind of just, I don't want to say pull the stories out of them, but they encourage them to talk about things and let them know that it's a safe environment for them to do so. And, usually after about an hour, they start to loosen up and they start to talk about things that are really important to them. And that's when the songwriter really starts to go to work. They pick up on those things and they start writing it down. We have one veteran that we wrote, or actually a Gold Star widow that we wrote with today. And her song and her story was so powerful that the songwriter was literally able to complete the song in a matter of about 2.5 hours. It just wrote itself.
In your experience, what has this meant to the veterans and to the families who have been part of it?
Oh my gosh, we could give you countless stories. When we write with the veterans, we never ask them to relay a combat story or talk about any trauma that they don't want to mention, that they don't want to talk about. The invitation to write is open to whatever they want to write about. We've had a veteran who had spent 30 years in the military and never owned a home. He always lived in government quarters. And so he was so excited that he could buy his first house, and his song was called Forever House. Another veteran wrote about his dog. Another veteran wrote about his mom. And so it's a lot of people think that when we write, we're writing about some trauma or about some combat experience. It's just about military life in general. I can tell you, my personal story. When I went through the program as I was retiring from the Army, I wrote a story about me retiring and my son joining the Army. And that became such an emotional and healing tool for me and for my son, that it really allowed us to process all of that and kind of really built our relationship and made it stronger. And we've had veterans come out and say Operation Song absolutely saved my life.
And I can only imagine, too, like, for, it being in Clayton, not too far from Fort Drum and Watertown, and, and we have so many veterans in the area. I can only imagine for the people who come how meaningful that time is, too, or to hear songs that even in a way get at something that they've experienced, too, in their service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's ripple effects to all of this. Veterans that haven't participated in the program, they'll come tonight and they'll hear these songs, and there'll be things that they'll hear that they can relate to and can possibly heal from. There'll be family members that come tonight, and they'll possibly hear things in this song that their veteran never told them before, and it helps them to understand now. We hear that time and time again. And so everybody that comes to the performance, whether they took part in the retreat or simply just come and hear the songs, I guarantee they'll be touched by what they hear. We actually have a special guest tomorrow, too. We wrote his song ahead of time, but we have a World War II veteran who we're going to present his song tomorrow as well. So it's going to be a really special time, and we're just so grateful to be able to be here in Clayton and honor these veterans in the local community.
That was retired First Sergeant Mike O'Brien. We talked yesterday. The show is tonight at the Thousand Islands Harbor Hotel in Clayton. Doors open at 5:30. The show starts at 6:30. You can find a link to buy tickets later this morning at our website, ncpr.org.
Listening to Northern Lights right here on North Country Public Radio. It is 8:17. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up in just a few minutes, John Warren checks the trail conditions for us on this Memorial Day weekend. That's right here on Northern Light.
Sunny skies for much of the region today, with wind gusts out of the southwest up to 40, 50 miles per hour at times. Highs ranging from the upper 60s, mid-70s this afternoon. Clear tonight, low around 50. Maybe a scattered shower tomorrow, and again on Sunday, highs Saturday and Sunday in the 70s. This is music by Lucas Garrett out of Glens Falls.
State and federal authorities are investigating a North Country nonprofit dedicated to college and career readiness. The nonprofit, CFES Brilliant Pathways, works with schools, colleges, and businesses to help rural students prepare for higher education or to join the workforce. Agents from the State Controller's Office and the U.S. Department of Education entered its office in the town of Essex on Wednesday. That's according to the CBS TV station in Burlington, Vermont. It's unclear what the subject of the investigation may be. The Education Department and the Controller's Office both declined NCPR's request for comment.
35 communities across the North Country have decided to apply to be certified as pro-housing by the state. To do so, they have to approve building permits to increase local housing units, or they can pass a resolution to streamline affordable housing permits and make policies that encourage development. Once communities are certified, they're eligible for up to $650 million in state funding. Governor Hochul launched the Per Housing program last summer to incentivize communities to add more homes. In the North Country, applicants include the cities of Watertown, Plattsburgh, and Ogdensburg, plus the towns of North Hudson, Peru, and Ticonderoga, and the villages of Port Leyden, Waddington, and Gouverneur.
A community car show in Clinton County this weekend aims to raise money for local nonprofits. Kara Chapman has more.
The 4th annual Memorial Day Community Car Show will take place at the Rainbow Banquet Hall in Altona on Sunday. Registration starts at 10:30 a.m. and the opening ceremony is at noon. Organizer Jerica Manning says the main beneficiary is a charity called Jane's Fight Fund.
Now they help local cancer patients financially who are undergoing cancer treatments in the Clinton, Essex, St. Lawrence, and Franklin County areas.
There will also be a charity poker run. It'll benefit Jane's Fight Fund, as well as North Country Honor Flight, Ladies of Liberty, and the Northern Adirondack Central FFA. Manning says the car show will give out 45 different awards for classic cars, modern cars, and trucks. There will be food, music, and other entertainment like face painting, caricatures, and vendors. Manning says state police will be there with multiple specialty units,
including their helicopter, which will kick off the event with a helicopter flyover during our opening Memorial Day ceremony.
Manning says the last 3 car shows have raised $12,000 for charity. She hopes to hit $15,000 raised this weekend. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
Today is the start of the Great Adirondack Garage Sale. It's a long weekend of sales all around the park, from Speculator up to Saranac Lake. Emily Russell spoke with folks at a few garage sales in Old Forge back in 2021 and produced this story.
Jennifer Palermo has set up these 2 big tents at her yard sale in Old Forge. Taped to those tents are handwritten neon signs. Okay, tell me what that sign says.
Our crap could be your crap. Get our crap. And then, well, that's a good one too. And then put our junk in your trunk.
This stuff isn't really junk, though. It's just things Palermo and her family don't really need anymore.
Mostly children's stuff because I have a 10 and a 5-year-old boy. So I have millions of kids' books, toys, tons of clothes.
There's also a pair of hockey skates, an old keyboard, and a bike trailer. Christina Cole and her little dog Coco are here shopping around. Cole says she's already come away with a few things.
Some golf clubs. We ended up getting some nice fresh made lemonade from some kids, some candy. That's about it.
Cole is up from Connecticut visiting family. Memorial Day is the start of the busy summer tourism season in Old Forge. Today, the streets and shops are packed with people. Cole says these yard sales and the whole Great Adirondack Garage Sale are a ton of fun. They make Old Forge feel like home.
It's just an open forum. Everybody comes, walks around. It's really great for the Adirondack Park because you get to meet people. The animals are out. The kids are out. It's just a nice adventure.
Across the street and meet Catherine Coppersmith. She's selling a lot of glassware, some plastic toys. There's a red stuffed Elmo chair. Coppersmith says her yard was a lot fuller earlier today.
I've probably sold half of what I've put out already, and I've probably made about $200. So it's been a pretty good day.
I look around and spot this big brown box. It looks kind of like a metal suitcase.
What is this?
It's a heater.
Wow. And does it work?
According to Grandpa, it does. I know nothing about it, but according to Grandpa, it's working, so.
Coppersmith and her family are from Delaware County down near the Catskills. Her teenage daughter, Emma Kennefic, is also here helping out and doing a little shopping of her own.
Have you found things at these garage sales?
We bought a few things yesterday.
We bought a few things yesterday. I've looked. Yeah.
What did we get yesterday? You got some new pants.
I got clothes. I've got shoes.
Yep.
The ones you're wearing?
Crocs.
Yes.
Yep.
I got a few other things.
Your sister got some new books. Yep.
I also got some books.
And a couple of puzzles. Yeah. Always treasures out there.
As the saying goes, one person's trash is another one's treasure. At the Great Adirondack Garage Sale in Old Forge for North Country Public Radio, I'm Emily Russell.
That story first aired in 2021.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Let's take a look now at the State Blooms Report to find out what flowers are in bloom across the North Country. Well, lilacs, of course, are in full bloom pretty much throughout the region. Love that fragrance on my evening walks. In the Adirondacks, staff at Fort Ticonderoga's King's Garden are reporting that roses are starting to bud. In the Thousand Island Seaway region, observers at Wellesley Island State Park in Fineview are reporting that some yellow goldenrods are in full bloom in front of the Minna Anthony Common Nature Center. And we'd love to see pictures of what's blooming near you. Snap a photo and send them in to news@ncpr.org. Such a lovely and lively time of year, and it's looking like a pretty gorgeous holiday weekend, right, Todd?
Well, hang on to your hats today. Wind gusts this afternoon out of the southwest up to 40, 50 miles per hour. But yeah, sunshine today, highs in the upper 60s into the mid 70s. Tonight, clear skies. Winds should diminish overnight. Lows around 60 overnight tonight. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, maybe a scattered shower or two on Saturday with highs in the mid 70s. And then Sunday, partly cloudy again, maybe a chance of an isolated shower. Sunday, highs in the 70s. And Monday, Memorial Day, at this point, the Weather Service says about a 40% chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms with highs in the 70s on Monday. Right now in Canton, partly cloudy skies and 63 degrees. John Warren checks trail conditions for this holiday weekend.
On Saturday, sunrise in the Adirondack High Peaks will be at about 5:19 and sunset at about 8:27. The forecast is looking pleasant, although there could be a shower Saturday night and an afternoon shower on Sunday and Monday. Temperatures on high peak summits are expected to be in the lower to mid-50s through the weekend. Tonight we'll see some cool temperatures, though, with lows in the mid-40s. There are still some icy areas remaining on some high peak summits, and trails remain very muddy most everywhere. The levels of rivers and streams are generally well below normal for this time of year. Stream crossing shouldn't be a problem this weekend. The Hudson River is expected to be near 3 feet on the gauge in North Creek this weekend. Still plenty of water for rafting on the bubble. The Racket River is expected to fall to almost 5 feet on the gauge in Piercefield. Lake Champlain continues to recede below 97 feet on the gauge at Whitehall. Most water temperatures are now in the mid-60s, with warmer waters now reaching the 70-degree mark. That's the temperature of Mirror Lake. Lake Champlain, which takes the longest to warm up, remains mostly in the upper 50s. Paddlers should use cold water protection and be sure to wear sun protection this weekend, especially if you're on the water. Elsewhere around the Adirondacks, the Avalanche Pass Trail near Marcy Dam has been rerouted temporarily around an area where beavers have flooded the trail. Follow the yellow flags. There is also significant flooding by beavers in the West Canada Lakes Wilderness, west of the Pillsbury Lean-To on the French Louis Trail. In the Siamese Ponds Wilderness, the bridge over Diamond Brook on the East Branch Trail has washed out. And finally this week, 13 camping sites at Shelving Rock, that's east of Lake George, will be closed June 3rd through the 7th for hazardous tree removals. Jade Pond Road will also be closed during that same time frame for a culvert replacement. Those are the outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. For North Country Public Radio, this is John Warren from the New York Almanac. Online at NewYorkAlmanac.com.
That is it for the show for the day. Morning Edition continues in just a minute. Then join us after that for the Marketplace Morning Report coming up between 8:51 and 9 o'clock. If you miss an episode of Northern Light, never fear. You can always listen back to the archive any place you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe to our daily news roundup story of the day, hosted by news director David Summerstein, or subscribe to our storytelling podcast, The Howl Podcast, or NCPR's magazine-style show Northwards, where you'll hear interviews and features with folks in our community that make the North Country a special place to live. That's it for the show. I'm Monica Sandreski.
I'm Todd Moe. Thanks for listening. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Be well.